bravest Athena, mighty Poseidon, the Earth-shaker, Zeus Artemis, with her deadly aim, set to pierce even the heart of a hummingbird. Painted pigs, all of them. I see you there. Come closer.
Ubisoft and its masterful set of open-world developers have cooked up something pretty great with Immortals Fenyx Rising. Set around Greek mythology, the game, which has clearly been inspired by a few other open-world games, is shaping up to be an RPG to look out for this year. If anything, we can see ourselves spending our December break playing it on a new fancy PS5 or Xbox Series X. Not only does its casual humor break away from the current release schedule of games, but the gameplay feels great, and the RPG mechanics will make a lot of people happy. However, where Immortals Fenyx Rising shines the most is in its exploration. Ubisoft seems to have crafted yet another world to get lost in while players solve puzzles, complete side missions, and obtain sweet loot. During our few hours with the game, we went from being a weak character with nothing but a sword and a cuirass, to wielding powerful weapons and mastering bigger combos and abilities. There's also this joy of evolving your character beyond just your equipment. New gear helps you explore the world. Arrows can be controlled when shot not only to help solve puzzles, but to aid in combat too. In addition, the world delivers some great visuals which tie this all together nicely. There's a lot that makes Immortals Fenyx Rising stand out. Much of this relies on the awesome abilities we gathered throughout our demo. We obtained these by completing rifts which contain puzzles and some enemies to fight. This sort of thing kind of felt like a dungeon from The Legend of Zelda, and it works well. There was this urge to push through each one in order to see what new treasure awaited us in the end. Sometimes it was a new ability such as Zeus's lightning, which increased our stamina, while other times we got some shiny new gear. These rifts also provided some challenging puzzles to solve, which usually rely on the new gear we just obtained. Once we had our bow, we had to complete the rift by shooting down stone blocks to use as weights, then carry these stones using our telekinesis. While these puzzles did not seem extremely tough in the early game, they are still enjoyable to complete. We are looking forward to seeing how they adapt and get harder as we progress with more gear. Speaking of gear, a big focus in Immortals Fenyx Rising is the joy that comes from finding it. If it's not from exploring and completing rifts, there's always something on the map to venture to, be it a temple on the top of a massive hill or hidden caves near a lake. Some of these locations could be inaccessible in the early game due to the lack of abilities. However, we could easily place a marker down on the map and return later on. When we did gain access to these treasure chests, they were quite rewarding for our struggle. A stone glare mask, for example, which looked like Medusa, which is already pretty awesome, but at the same time it gave us a 40% damage buff for 6 seconds when we stunned an enemy. This same helmet could then be upgraded. Once it hits a certain level, a second perk unlocked that refilled our stamina after stunning an enemy. This sort of system also means that you're not locked out of gear when you progress the game. Sure, gear will be better later down the line, but anything we found that had locked buffs on it, we could unlock later on. It also helps that this gear does not provide any sort of stat boost at all. The character is just as good as his gear, even if you're playing with an axe found in the first 2 hours of playing. While the system may disappoint hardcore RPG character build makers, we think it will also provide some exciting ways to experiment with complementing pieces of gear and other abilities. Not to mention the system is also a lot more approachable. Then we have the exploration, which is an absolute joy in Immortals Fenyx Rising. Getting around is quite easy thanks to the ability to climb almost every surface and glide in the air from mountain to mountain. Those of you playing Genshin Impact will feel right at home here. The stamina bar depletes as you climb up a wall or a mountain, and the Phoenix can use his wings to flap in the air and act like a double jump. We really enjoyed this system as it meant there was no mountain we could not climb. Thankfully, everyone we did climb held some sort of amazing reward for doing so, be it one of Nike's capture ferries or a vantage point we could use to scout the land ahead.
Ah, the Valley of Eternal Spring. Its highlights include a massive tree that reaches up to the heavens. The Hall of the Gods. Eros' palace.
Oh, I'm glad he finally got his happy ending.
And a palace belonging to the goddess of beauty herself.
Of course Aphrodite would claim the prime real estate with the best view. As long as she's safe from prying eyes, I'm happy.
These vantage points helped us target chests, hidden areas, and often surprised us with new quests spotted in the distance. Not to mention, the world design here is pure joy too. It kind of made us want to go everywhere and climb everything.
Yes, that view from Mount Olympus is something else. I haven't seen it in years.
You're not getting that high again, so stop asking.
Standing on a statue of Aphrodite and gazing at Mount Olympus was one of the highlights from the demo. The sheer sense of discovery is spot on in Immortals Fenyx Rising, and we can't wait to climb every watchtower to clear the map in the full game. Combat in Immortals Fenyx Rising is great. Enemies are tough and you can't just go in and spam buttons to beat them. Fenyx can also use a range of abilities found in the game during combat too. One of which is a guided arrow which helps you get a headshot in when looking to take out enemies from a distance. When it comes to close combat, enemies are no pushovers either. Each enemy has a stagger bar and a health bar. The stagger bar fills up as you attack them. Certain attacks contribute more progress towards this bar. Once filled, the enemy is stunned. This is where our handy Medusa's Stone Glare Mask came in handy, as we got 40% extra damage for 6 seconds while attacking that annoying enemy. Certain combat encounters really put us on our feet, as we had to combine shooting arrows from a distance, running in and hitting the enemy, as well as picking up rocks with telekinesis and throwing it at them. We also had to take into account our stamina, which is a requirement for pulling off certain godly abilities. Ares Rat saw us leaping into the air while thrusting enemies along with us. The attack not only did health damage, but also contributed a large amount to their stagger bar. Athena's dash let us dash forward, striking all enemies with 5 hits. Hephaestus's hammer was a massive slam into the ground that knocked back enemies. This all works quite well and makes combat a central focus, which oozes into the gear we use and the abilities we learn to master. It unlocked new ways to approach combat, especially for those tough fights. Aside from godly abilities which can center around specific weapons and items, Fenyx also has a range of skills which can be enhanced too. In combat, these don't cost stamina. For example, basic attacks can be enhanced with larger combos, and headshots from bows can be increased by 100% of the damage. There's a lot to chew on here, and the combat system felt great. So far, Immortals Fenyx Rising is shaping up to be a really good open world RPG. It checks all the boxes when it comes to gear, combat and exploration. It surely has been built with those foundations in mind. While the build we played was early and there were some rough parts, we could not put it down. It seems like the game we're going to get lost in for hours and hours on end, as we leave no cave unexplored, no treasure chest unopened, and no material left to be collected. In short, we cannot wait to see more of Immortals Fenyx Rising when it releases on the 3rd of December 2020.
A replica of Zeus's lightning bolt? No way!
Power surged through Phoenix. It was too much for him to bear.
What's happening to me?
Bye-bye, mortal.
And then, just like that, it stopped.
No!
The wings grounded the lightning. They were designed to withstand storms.
That shouldn't be possible.
And yet, this is just the beginning.
But that's going to be all our thoughts on Immortals Fenyx Rising. What do you guys think? Are you looking forward to this game? Let us know down below. As always, if you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing, and until next time, farewell.